everyone. May peace be on you all, and welcome to another episode of I'm a Muslim and That's Okay. I'm your host, Shella, and I am back with another gift of the gab. And with me is my guest, Julianna Coughlin. And she is a fellow podcaster, a Harry Potter nerd, and she's also a dietitian. How are you, Julianna?
Oh, I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
No, I'm so glad you are here. Please tell us. I mean, I just gave a brief overview of it. Was like a very brief overview, but what do you do? And how did you get into podcasting?
Yeah. So hello, I'm Julianna, and I am a fellow podcaster. I'm also a full-time dietitian. I work in long-term care with all my little adopted grandparents, as I call them. And I have a dog named Myrtle, who's a really, really cute pit bull. I love to run. I run the Boston Marathon twice. I'm running the Chicago Marathon this year in the fall. And I am a podcaster. I have 2 podcasts that I actually run. One of them that I will be recording later today with my best friend Jeff. That is Into the Fold, which is a Grishaverse podcast, which I don't know if you've heard of the Grishaverse.
I haven't. I'm literally decades behind everything. Okay.
Well, it is. I don't know if you've seen on Netflix. There's the show Shadow and Bone. It was.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It was like hanging out on the top 10 for a little bit. So you might have at least seen the picture.
Right.
But that show is based off of a series of books that is called the Grishaverse, essentially. Right. But we're reading through these books as like a little book club style thing, and it's very fun. Yeah. And we have that, and then I also do a Harry Potter podcast called PuffCast, which is Harry Potter themed podcast run by 2 Hufflepuffs. That's why it's PuffCast. So
wow.
Yeah.
So you're a Hufflepuff.
Yes, I am. I'm very emotional. I'm very empathetic. I have a lot of feelings. Some of us have a lot of feelings.
No, see that I can relate to, because I tell this to everybody, because I was the original Potterhead when the books first came out. I'm that old, ladies and germs, because I used to be like the first in line, pre-ordered, all that jazz. So
oh my goodness, yes.
I've read all the books. I mean, I could get into a long argument about this, because that's how I am. Because I didn't fancy the movies, but I read all the books. So yeah.
I'm definitely way more of a book person than I am a movie person. I've read through the books quite a lot of times. I think I've only seen, except for Chamber of Secrets, which as a kid I watched probably 100 times, because I had it as on VHS. It was the only movie we had, a limited number of movies when I was a kid on VHS, and that was one of them. Right. So I've just seen that a lot. But the other movies maybe I've seen, so it's besides the first one, which I've seen a lot of times, I've probably seen the other ones maybe 3 or 4 times each, which really isn't that many considering they're 20 years old at this point. Right.
And you still went up on me. I think I saw the Sorcerer's Stone maybe a little bit. I was like, I'm gonna turn this off. I can't do this. That's how I am.
Yeah, the books are definitely books over movies, 110%. They're so much better. The movies cut so much out. And it's really obnoxious.
And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but that's not why I have you here, Julianna. Apart from all of that, you also suffer from a chronic condition, and I'm going to mess up the name, but I'm going to attempt it anyway. So it's Ankylosing Spondylitis. I don't know if I've said it correct, but that is what you have.
Yeah, Ankylosing Spondylitis. Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty close.
I messed it up.
It's pretty close.
Sorry.
I mean, even the people like myself who have it, we have a hard time pronouncing it. We just call it AS.
I see. No, please.
It's too long.
Yeah, for sure. It's a medical term. That's how they are.
Yes. Fancy.
Yes. No, please tell my audience, what is AS and how does it impact you?
Yeah, so I will preface this with saying I am a medical professional in the food world, but not in the medical diagnosis world. Right. So please go and ask your doctor about this, and don't sue me if I say something that's incorrect, please.
For sure. Go to your medical professional, please.
Yes. Go to an actual doctor.
Doctor.
Essentially, it is a kind of weird form of a little bit more severe arthritis that radiates more from your hips, and essentially in the end leads to spinal fusion. And you kind of turn into the Hunchback of Notre Dame as you age, because your spine fuses together, and it causes pain pretty much in all your joints, because anyone who's a human realizes that, like, if you have hip pain, that kind of affects like everything else in your body, because it throws off the alignment of your back and your legs and everything else. So it's a pain that radiates from your hips and makes you extremely stiff, and just makes it hard to move, but also affects your other joints. And just like any other inflammatory autoimmune disease, just kind of makes you susceptible to other diseases more easily, and also just makes your whole body like en fuego a lot of the times. And it's something that I've had for a long time, but actually just got diagnosed with about like 6 to 8 months ago. But the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, this was just something that I just ignored and accepted for the rest of my life, and just didn't really clock it, because it's something that isn't really easy to diagnose by a general practitioner, because like a lot of chronic diseases where there's not an overt physical symptom, it's easy for people and doctors to be like, well, I can't see it, so it doesn't exist.
And that's the thing. How did you get diagnosed with this then? I mean, please tell us.
So I actually had a really bad fall back in February of last year, where I fell and slammed my knee. And this kind of happens with a lot of chronic diseases. I know some people who this has happened with, like migraines or Crohn's or something like that, where one kind of big incident sets off a chain reaction that makes the disease kind of show itself. And so that really just, that I hurt my knee, and that just set off something in my body that really just made the disease like prominent. And it's something that, like I said, I didn't realize I was living with, but now that I'm on medication for it, and just reflecting back on my life of just thinking I'm just like a creaky kind of stiff person, and that's just how it is, that I've just dealt with it and just sucked it up for the beginning part of my life. So
I think it's one of those things that as women we do a lot until it becomes like, no, y'all can't ignore me anymore sort of thing when it comes to diseases. But gosh, so right now that you've been diagnosed with AS, what's the treatment for it? Because I'm assuming, just like any other inflammatory autoimmune disease, there is no real cure for this.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no real cure. And the main form of medications that they use to treat this are called biologicals. And I don't know the exact logistics of them, but the nice thing is they don't have many side effects.
Yay.
The bad thing is that you have to kind of inject them. They have to be given into your bloodstream.
Wow. How often?
So I have my medication here, and I'll show you. It kind of looks like the version I have, because you can get the syringes too.
Right.
But the version I have looks like kind of like an insulin pen. So this is what it looks like.
Okay. Yeah. It does look like an insulin pen. My mother-in-law also uses insulin, and very similar to that. For those who can't see, it's generally it's like the tubular, and it has a very fine needle to it. It's not one of those like major like syringe type but you do have to inject it.
You just take off this white part, and then you have to stick it into your skin and press this down.
Dang.
And that happens once a week. Which is it's a little bit of pain, but it's only about like 10 to 15 seconds of pain, but it's definitely worth the pain relief that you get from being on the medication. So I mean, even just me taking that I've been on this specific medication because it's been like trial and error. Obviously, when you start medications, they don't know exactly which one is going to work for you. So you have to try a few, and this one is called Enbrel, and this one specifically for me has been the most successful, which is great. And it's interesting being on the medication versus thinking about how I was prior to being on the medication, because I would get tired so easily just because your joints are really stiff, and the amount of energy it takes to like lift your legs and like move your hips and things like that is like 20 times more when your whole body is like no and you're like I must walk.
So how did you do running with this? Like that's the thing.
I think it's just like, I think a lot of it is just like, you know how females are. We just, we are just like, yeah, I guess that's just how it is, and we just keep on trucking.
Wow.
And I love running, and I wanted to keep doing it, and I just accepted the fact that, hey, it's gonna be the way it's gonna be. And there are definitely other people who I run with who have like chronic illnesses and chronic diseases too. So just seeing them take on some really big tasks. Like I have a friend who is a triathlete who does Ironmans, who has something similar to what I have. He's also on a biologic, but just seeing him do things that I definitely couldn't even do is really inspiring. And I'm like, oh, okay, if he can run a full marathon and do this huge swimming thing and do a huge biking thing back to back to back, I can go out and run like a few miles today.
No, okay, so we're gonna rewind a little, Julianna. So you have your chronic condition. You've always had it. You have had AS all your life. If you could tell us, you said that it becomes difficult to walk, to move around. Do you have anything else that it used to specifically impact and still does right now?
Yeah, so if I sit for too long or I'm too stagnant for too long of a time, it legitimately hurts to move again.
Oh, wow.
Which is a thing with AS, is that inactivity just kind of makes your joints like kind of settle in. And when you go to move, like when I sit in a car for a long period of time, or if I sit in a meeting or something and I don't move around, it physically hurts for my joints for me to like stand back up or get out of the car.
Oh, wow.
So long drives were always really hard. And that's one of the things on this medication that I realized is so much easier now, is like I get out of a car and I'm not actively in pain getting out of the car, which is great.
Right. And what about like after you're running, after you have run, does it, I mean, I don't know, does it hurt more after you, I mean, you're always hurting after you exercise, like just for us general people, you know, like I'm done, my muscles are done, I can't do anything.
So it actually feels better after I exercise, and that's actually really typical with AS, is that when you move, your body just feels better. And it must just have to be with like the circulation and everything that's happening. But yeah, generally speaking, it's good for people with AS to just move and be active in general, because when we are stagnant, that's when our bodies tend to kind of seize up and just get really, really, really stiff. Yeah. Okay,
so you have AS, but as with most other inflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases, other people can't see that you have AS, and the fact that you run the Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon. I mean, when you got your diagnosis, and you told other people about it, did you receive any pushback about it, or any skepticism about it, that whether you had your condition or not?
Yeah, so I definitely did, and I definitely still do. I mean, even the other day when I was at work, I was telling someone about it, and they were like, oh, that's just because you're a runner and you run. I was like, no, like I legitimately, like I don't take my injection for fun. It's not just something I do for shits and giggles. So definitely a lot of kickback from people being like, oh, I don't believe you. And like even my family, just being my family also is kind of in denial about themselves being not quote unquote normal, you know. They have a lot of issues that have gone undiagnosed for a long period of time and still are in that realm, but I digress.
It's in all families, trust me, Julianna.
Yes. Oh no, I believe you. I don't doubt that. But yeah, I definitely have gotten some people who don't really believe me, and I actually didn't even believe my rheumatologist when he told me I thought I had this. I was like, I don't really believe you. He's like, well, let's just try the medication. Right. And this is something that these medications you have to kind of take for a month or two for them to build up enough in your body to show the progress. And so like after a month, I was like, oh my God, like I actually legitimately feel so much better. And that's when I started thinking back on like the past years and me being a kid and me being like, oh wow, I actually have had joint pain the entirety of my life. It's come in different, like I've always had problems with my hips. Like I remember when I was in college, I had this weird thing that happened with my hips that no one could explain to me why it happened. And I just went to PT for like 2 months and then it didn't really go away, but it got a little bit better. Right. And it's just something that has come and gone my whole life. And people were like, oh, your hips are just a weird shape possibly or something. But no one had a real answer for me. Right. But it just kind of got pushed to the wayside because it's not an obvious, big, prominent thing. And it's not something, if you go to like the ER, they're going to be like, wow, you definitely have ankylosing spondylitis. They're going to be, they only do like big things there. So yeah, it's definitely something that even I was thinking to myself, I definitely don't have this, and I do, and here we are. Right. But that's the thing, I mean, with something like this that is so poorly known, even in the medical field, it was not the first diagnosis you got. You had to basically wait years for this to manifest after an accident, basically. Yeah. So, I mean, I think my question is that for those who do suffer from chronic disease and the people around them, I mean, what is the best advice you can give somebody who has the chronic disease about dealing with other people who are like, no, this is all in your head, and the people that are around them, and to tell them that this is not all in their heads, that sort of thing? Yeah, I think the most grounding things for me have been talking with other people who have this condition. Right. I know for the AS community, they have some decent Facebook groups and stuff that you can reach out to. Right. And I also have some people that I've met who have other chronic illnesses that are quote unquote invisible diseases. Right. And talking with them and just kind of commiserating sometimes about how terrible it is dealing with the healthcare system, because getting a biological medication is a job in itself. Really? Because it comes from a specialty pharmacy. Anything that's an injection comes from a specialty pharmacy. So you have to go through many, many, many hoops to get to that. Does insurance at least cover it? I don't know. Like I get scared. So these medications are really odd because technically insurance does not cover them, but they all come with these assistance programs that are part of the program. Like my insurance doesn't cover my medication, but Emerald has its own assistance program that gave me like this credit card thing that they use. So they're kind of like almost reimbursing themselves for me getting that. It's really weird. Yeah. So I only pay like $10 a month for it because of that program, which is available to everyone. Anyone who's taking the medication, regardless of your insurance, can qualify for that program. But it's just odd that it comes from the same drug company that is charging me the money to begin with. Right. It's weird. Yeah, at least you can afford it, okay? It's affordable. It's affordable. Yeah, because by itself, like 1 month's worth of this medication is like $10,000. Dang. Like without any assistance. I had the question, is the injectable one time? Because like for insulin, you can change the needles, and the vial has a certain dosage that lasts a certain amount of time. But is this one time? So they are pre-filled, and they're all, the ones that I have are all 50 milligrams. So it's not interchangeable. Yeah, you just do it once a week. Like, so I usually do it on Monday mornings just so I don't forget.
Right.
And
right.
just start the week off with a with a nice shot, and
people usually take coffee, Juliana. This is a bit extreme. No, I'm
I mean, it definitely wakes you up if you get a nice little like zing first thing in the morning, But no. Yeah, it's definitely very interesting.
Right. No, that's the thing. I can't even imagine you having to go through this throughout your life, and it still impacts you and will impact you in the future as well. As you had mentioned, that it's like a slowly degenerative disease. It does impact your overall physical being. Mm-hmm. I think what I would like that if you could tell those people who don't have chronic conditions that if you do encounter somebody that they should believe them. I don't know what how do you convince somebody?
I think that people should just, if someone tells you they have a disease, unless like what they're telling you is directly hurting you as a person,
right?
I would say just let them tell you what they're going to tell you and believe them, because chances are they're not trying to lie to you or anything. And most people who have chronic illnesses are so done with people being like, well, you look fine today.
Right.
So why
a marathon, Juliana? How could you?
Yeah, they don't realize that people who have chronic illnesses who are we're just kind of used to being in pain anyway. And one of my things that I tell myself too is like, I'm going to be in pain, the same level of pain pretty much, whether I'm sitting in this chair or whether I'm running a marathon. Because it's not a lie. I'm pretty much in the same level of pain essentially. And sometimes I feel way better when I'm like actually out there, even running like super long distances, because my body just likes the movement. So sometimes I'm actually in less pain when I'm running a marathon, as opposed to like most people who, for them, sitting on the couch is so comfortable and everything. And for me, it gets really painful after like 20 minutes. And I don't really appreciate it anymore. So I think a lot of it too is everyone's an individual and everyone's different. And the person who you're talking to isn't living the same reality as you are.
Right.
And as long as it's not hurting you, I would just say accept what they're telling you and just believe them, because they've already had so many people already probably in that same day be like, I don't believe you, this is crap.
Right. Just because they don't know about it, that sort of thing, or they haven't been through it or experienced it. That's
and that's something too, that if this person, say someone doesn't believe you, I'm sure that as soon as they get diagnosed with whatever whatever thing that comes down the pipeline for them, they'll be like, oh wow, she was right, or someone was, they'll realize that someone they talked to forever ago was correct, and that they kind of gave someone crap for no reason.
Right. I mean, you don't wish that for other people, but sometimes that's how it happens, that until somebody else goes through something really bad, they don't realize that they could have been nicer to the other person.
I always say it takes the same amount of energy to be nice as it does to be mean. So why not be nice and make someone's day a little bit better?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm all for that. And I think my last question regarding that is, you had mentioned that you're in the same amount of pain sitting down as you are running. And I think as an overall, I guess, understanding of AS, my question is, are you always in pain?
I think most of the time there's some kind of pain, but I've gotten really good at ignoring it. And if you're someone who has chronic pain, your pain threshold is just like really high, and you just kind of reach a level of acceptance, because you can either accept or just not accept it, and it's not going to change the level of pain.
And it's not something like take an Advil, it'll go away.
It's I mean, sometimes I have to take prednisone, which is awful. Don't take prednisone unless you absolutely have to. It's terrible. It destroys your body. It's awful. But that's the kind of medication I need to relieve the pain, because my body is just like inflamed at all times. But it just is what it is. And you're always in some level of pain. There are certain days when you're feeling like really good, like maybe like once a month I'll have a day where I'm like, wow, I feel like really good today, but that has to be perfect weather conditions, perfect, because
that's what I want to ask you. I know, like, my mom has arthritis, so she's like,
when the weather changes,
when the weather changes, she can tell, like, I know it's gonna rain today. I was like, really?
Yep.
How does that work? But that's the thing, I don't have arthritis, thankfully, so I don't understand this, but I know it's true.
My body has hated the last week or so. It's gone from being like 60 to 10 to 50 to 10, and my body has been like, no thank you, we do not like this, along with like temperature and pressure changes. And I think a lot of it has to do with the air pressure, because I recently flew in a plane for the first time in a while, and my body did not like the pressure changes at all. It was like, no thank you, this is not for us. And so I think a lot of it has to do with the changes in air pressure and how that affects your joints.
Right.
But that's just my best guess based on my own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, me and other people, we can't imagine, but the least we can do is that when somebody comes and says that they have a chronic condition like AS, that we believe them and not give them trouble over it. I mean, and that's the thing. It's not like, oh, have you tried acupuncture? And like, yeah, it comes from, I guess, a well-meaning place. But if I don't know what AS is, I really shouldn't be giving recommendations.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like a lot of us who have gotten to this point, we've tried all those things already. Right. And I mean, I've done so much like specific yoga, so much PT, all these things. And like, I still go to the gym and I exercise and I make sure my muscles are strong I mean, because I'm running marathons and stuff too. Yeah. But that only gets you so far, because your body is still working against you, and it's just, it has some of its little inflammatory things on high alert at all times. And what the biological does is it just turns off that alarm at least a little bit. So that way your body isn't like the entire existence of your body. Right.
No, thank you so much, Julianna, for talking to us about this. That's the thing. I think I do have other friends who have chronic conditions, and I see them struggling, but because I don't have it and a lot of other people don't have it, we don't fully comprehend what you guys are going through. And it's hard. It's really, 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 really hard. I'm just sitting here thinking I get an injection on every single Monday. I think, what is that? It's not even a whole lot. I'm like, I can't deal. But that's just a small part, like a really teeny part of your struggle, like a really teeny. And that struggle helps you with the other struggle, that sort of thing.
It's way, like I said, it's way better for me to just deal with like the 10 to 20 seconds of pain on Monday morning than it is for me to deal with the hours and hours and hours of pain throughout the entire week if I don't take it.
Right. No, and that's why we need to be kinder and gentler to one another. Thank you so much, Julianna, for being with me. Please do tell my audience where they can catch your Harry Potter podcast and your Grishaverse. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that as well.
Oh no, that was pretty close. That was good. So if you liked listening to my voice, people, you can come and find me over on PuffCast, which is where all pods are cast, and that is the Harry Potter podcast. We coin ourselves as your Harry Potter happy place. We just trying to be a happy, positive, inclusive environment, just because sometimes that fandom can be a little bit of it's very nice, but the author is a trash fire.
She's terrible. That's a whole nother gift of the gab, Julianna.
I know. Yeah, we'll come back to that one.
We'll come back to that.
Yes. So it's a positive place to celebrate the community that is Harry Potter. So that's PuffCast. And then you can also find me on my other podcast, which is called Into the Fold, which is the Grishaverse podcast. So if you're looking to start a new book series, or if you like the Grishaverse books already, we're doing a book style chapter by chapter reread of those books. And it's been really fun so far. And we're only done with book 1. And there are, how many books? There's 2, 4, and then another 3, so that makes 7. There are 7 main books in total. So we're only 1 book in, so if you want to start reading the first book and join us for a book club style podcast, it's a good way to start reading a new book that is very good. So that is Into the Fold.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
No, I'm so glad you came and talked to us about AS. And for those who are watching, you can already see her podcast on the screen. And for everybody else who is listening, I will put a link to the podcast in the show notes. Thank you, everybody who's listened in and are watching us on YouTube. Y'all take care of yourself. Be kind to one another, and may peace be on you all.
Bye.